Spoken Label. Hi guys, it's Andy N. Thanks today for downloading or streaming yet another episode of Spoken Label. As you may or may not be aware, Spoken Label was started in the beginning of 2006, and currently we have well over 150 sessions recorded since then. Although you can find it on various networks, the full archive is available for streaming and downloading at spokenlabel.bandcamp.com. It is a free download or free streaming there, but obviously, if you feel like chucking me a few pennies that way, it'd be eternally grateful to help me keep this podcast going, keep improving my equipment, etc. Enjoy. Speak to you soon. Bye bye. Spoken Label.
Hi guys, it's Andy N again, live from Spoken Label, back over at N Studios tonight, and on Skype again. So now the poet I'm talking to tonight, I've just been chatting away before, and I reckon it was just over 2 years ago, maybe 3 even, when I first met her. Now, the lady in question, Sarah Pritchard, I know Sarah through her work over at Write Out Loud, which is run over at the Waterside Centre in Sale. But I think I met her originally at a night on, I think it's called Out Loud it was, over in the village somewhere, probably just before that. But Sarah's an incredibly busy lady like I am, so. Now, Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody? Tell them who you are, and where you come from, and where all your creativity originally came from, and we'll start from there.
Wow, that's a great question. Well, I have been an English and drama teacher for 30 years, and I've spent all of that time encouraging youngsters to write and be creative and express themselves through art forms. And I have quietly been doing it as well, although it's been a struggle to keep up the energy and the pace while teaching as well. And when I retired in 2015, I burst back onto the poetry scene. I had quietly been going and doing things, mainly in the early 90s, but then teaching kind of took over with my responsibilities. But I'm back.
Dum, dum, dum. Yeah, I thought it was about 2015 you said you retired, that's why. So, and like I said, I know you do a lot of readings, don't you, certainly, so, because I know you were at Stirred fairly recently, weren't you, and the Percy's Collective.
Yes, and I mean, I was on the poetry scene in Manchester a lot in the 90s, and some of the poems in my collection are from my first publication by Common Word in a Beyond Paradise anthology,
wow,
which was poetry by lesbians and gay men in 1990.
Good grief. I didn't think you were that old, actually. Wow. Good grief.
Oh, thank you.
No, I know Common Word, yeah, good grief, yeah, because like I used to go
I saw Hina on Friday night at the Rose and Swan at the gig there with the joint gig between Blue and Stirred with Anna Percy and Hina Patel. It was great.
Yeah, that looks like they had a great lineup there. They did. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it that one night. We were doing something else. So yeah, certainly had a great lineup there. That's for sure. So no, I said, but how did it feel then? Obviously, coming back onto the poetry circuit in 2015, then after being absent for so long from it.
Wow, another great question. I wasn't completely absent in that I'd been going to writers' groups, but yes, I couldn't get out as much as I wanted to. I was really overwhelmed by how much there was going on, how many more poets there were out there, how many more open mic nights there were. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, I think, the poetry available around Manchester and Greater Manchester, and I couldn't wait to get stuck in.
Oh yeah, completely. Because I've been active one way or another myself for just probably about 12 years now, and it's like I've certainly noticed in the last 5 years the way it seems to have expanded the circuit around Manchester, because there's so many good nights on nowadays. There is.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I just can't get to enough of it.
Yeah, it's just trying to get time, isn't it? Because I think it was Fat Roland, if you know him, over at Bad Language. He said something on the internet earlier in the year, was it last year, where he reckoned there was something like 25 to 30 nights going on monthly in the Manchester area. Would you believe, in the Greater Manchester area?
Yeah.
In total.
That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me.
Like I said, in your case, obviously, I know for the past 3 years or so, you've been running Write Out Loud Sale, haven't you? So, now, how did this come about for you then? How did you get involved in running Write Out Loud Sale?
Well, that's an interesting one. I had been going occasionally. I'd seen Sarah Dixon, who goes a lot, and I had taught her.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And also, I think Shah had done a gig there, and I was in a writers' group with her for years and years. And when Todd finished, Shah got in touch with me and said they're looking for somebody to host Say It Out Loud, Sarah, and I think you should do it. And I thought, oh yeah, that would be interesting. And so I wrote to Julian of Write Out Loud and, gave him a little summary of what I'd been up to in my background. And myself and Mo Harrop at the time, who'd gone and done her first reading, said she'd like to support it to make sure it didn't stop. And then, hey presto, there were the two of us. We were asked if we would do it, so we did. And Mo co-hosted with me for about a year until she had other pressures that meant she couldn't really regularly do it, and I continued.
Oh, brilliant. Now, also, like, if anyone doesn't know it, obviously, tell everybody what the Waterside Centre is then, because obviously it's a lovely venue, and it's
an amazing place, and I think people are quite surprised by it. I mean, it's next to the canal in Sale. It's right across the road from the tram stop. It's next to a wonderful pub called the King's Arms.
One of Manchester's greatest
pubs. To the town hall. And is it the King's Arms or the King's Head?
I can never remember now. I could go to the King's.
Anyway, it's a great pub.
Yeah.
We're both agreed. It's a great pub.
Yeah.
But Sale Waterside Arts Centre itself, it's not near Sale Water Park. People often confuse that. It's next to the canal, dead in the centre of Sale. And it's a wonderful venue for theatre and arts. And it's got a gallery and it's got a lovely bar and coffee shop. And that's where we do our night on the third Tuesdays of the month. So it's just a fantastically modern and open and friendly space.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. It's also supportive as well. Definitely well worth your time going down there for that one. Now,
and the staff are so supportive.
Oh yeah, completely. I'm looking and time this goes live, unfortunately, it'll be after me and Amanda would have read there ourselves in a joint set coming up shortly for it. And Amanda's never read there before, but I haven't. I love that place. I love Sale, mind you, so great area. Now, obviously, in relation to yourself with your poetry, then, all these, were you writing when you were much younger than were you originally, or was it all? Or did you just write in the 90s when obviously teaching took over, and have you come back to it then? Were you writing back when you were like a wee lass, were you?
You know, I've always written, and particularly been drawn to poems, and I think that is. You know, I often ask guests how they came to poetry, and for me, it was something that my mother and my grandmother and my grandfather were really into. I know my grandfather wrote poems. My grandmother recited poetry a lot, and so did my mother. And I was in that generation where children often had to do party turns and party pieces and learn bits of poetry to recite. You know, long before. There was that much television, and certainly no internet, and I guess I just carried on from there. Really, I started to write my own, and I was always encouraging students at school to write, and I would model writing my own. I would never hold back from showing them that I would experiment and write as well. And so it's been a constant, definitely.
I think it does when you're doing something like poetry like that. Once it gets into your system, things might expand and take off like to running nights and, in my case, doing podcast series. But it's always the fact like it does take over your life, doesn't it? And that's clearly happened to yourself, because I know obviously like you bought a book, you bought your debut collection out last year, didn't you? When Women Fly, The 7 Ages of a Mad Woman. Now, that is an absolutely fantastic title straight away. So, where did the title come from, first of all?
You're asking such great questions, Andy. Well, the publishing company, Hidden Voice Publishing, was started by a friend of mine called Joel Thaddler Puckering. And he was targeting marginalised poets and voices.
Right, yeah.
So he had put out 3 poetry books, and he kept nagging me and saying, I want to put out one of your work. And I was just distracted and doing lots of other things, and he just kept pressing me, and I finally said, yes, okay, I'll do it.
Brilliant.
I thought, well, what am I going to do? And I looked back at the body of my work, and I thought, I really want to put in stuff that I've had published and see it in one place. And then when I went through it, I decided there were other things I really wanted to put with them, and it started to form a sort of sequence. And I love writing sequences, because the year before I had got published by local Gems Press after one of the NaPoWriMo competitions they do.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And I'd written 30 poems in 30 days called After the Flood, which they published, and that was a sequence on the 1953 flood in East Anglia. And so I loved that idea of sequencing, and as a drama specialist that was important to me, that it told some kind of a story, that they were standalone but they also worked as a sequence. And as I started to put them together, I started to realise there were an awful lot of poem about how women can be marginalised and how they can often be in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, politically and personally. And so it formed then that I got this idea of the 7 ages of a mad woman, because obviously looking back at 30 plus years of writing, I had work that I'd written when I was quite young, and I had work that I'd written all through my career, and I have work that I've written quite recently as an older woman. So that's basically what it then fell into, these seven stages. And I found, which obviously I was, as an English teacher, I was also nodding to that man Shakespeare. And so I stole his idea of the antithesis of putting 2 things together and making a third meaning. And like the wise fool, for instance, I ended up with 7 of my own that I came up with that really strung the sequence together. So I have 7 sections in it, and each of them have a little subtitle.
Wow, no, brilliant. So like I said, it's like people are wondering, like I said, it is your life's work, this book, really, isn't it? So, well, it
sounds like it. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't fit. Yes and no, I guess, is the answer to that. I mean, it's not all about me, but a lot of them obviously are fed from my experiences, a lot of the poems in it. But yes, because I was asked in such a personal way to do it, I made it personal, and I made it something that I would be proud of.
Yeah, of course.
And I had the privilege of doing something with somebody I really respect, who nurtured me and gave me permission to really do something that would mean something to me.
Oh, fantastic. Now, obviously as well, I know obviously when we were talking before we start recording, I know you've also been doing some editing for the same publishing firm company, haven't you? When you did the Hidden Voices Publishing Anthology 1. Did that come before your collection, or was it just after?
No, that came afterwards. After when Wind Fry came out, Joel and I had often done a night of poetry before Pride, which celebrated LGBT plus and friends' voices. And so we've done about 3 of those gigs now, and he really wanted to step it up and do a bigger one. So we hired a room upstairs, the upper room in the Royal Exchange, and we decided we were going to use it also to launch the first anthology of Hidden Voice. That's what he wanted to do.
Oh, brilliant.
And he's a head of English at a certain school somewhere in Greater Manchester.
Yeah, which we won't name, of course, right? Yeah.
Do the editing, because of I have been a teacher, and I know it just takes over your life. And so obviously he gave the nod to things, but I did all the work of inviting people in, and he gave the nod to things that I selected out, and people sent things in, and that's how it happened.
Oh, brilliant.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas where would you like to go next with your creativity then? Is there anything you got in mind, or?
Well, hopefully Joel and I will continue to do more anthologies, and with my own writing, I would say I've got at least 3, if not 4, chapbooks worth of poetry.
Wow.
One of which was called Pre-Loved Archaeology of an Aunt, and that was highly commended by Blue Nib last year. But yeah, lots of things looking for to be published. I'm working on another sequence at the moment, and so I'm never short of ideas, and now I get really hungry to have the space to just discipline myself and sit down and get it done and sent off. You know what that's like, don't you?
Blimey, yeah, join the club, challenge you. Like I said, in my case, is trying to sit down to get stuff done half the damn time. So, like I got the dreaded day job, and then on top of it, I'm doing podcasting all the time, doing music, running poetry nights, and occasionally writing.
Yeah,
so
your energy is amazing, Andy. You do so much.
I tire myself out, to be honest with you. But it's funny because I was talking to my brother about this the other day. My brother said that to me. Where do I get all the energy from? Because my brother's like, he's in a day job like me, and I know he just goes home from work and his tea collapses. He's shattered out, and he doesn't know where I get the energy from. But it's just the way it goes, isn't it? Because I think when you're creative, you feel like you've got to get as much done as you can sometimes, I think. While you feel
like
life.
It actually gives you more energy.
Yeah, it does. It does. Like it was. It's very rare for me because certainly I come home and I won't have nothing to do. I've always got something I want to do. And you're the same, aren't you? Like it's wherever you are, there's something on every day.
Never a dull moment.
Oh God, yeah, completely.
And I come back from the gigs and the sail out loud, and I'm buzzing.
Oh yeah, you will be.
And I meet so many wonderful people. I mean, it's a real camaraderie, isn't it? I mean, I feel like I can go into any poetry gig anywhere, full of people or poets I don't know, and before long, there's just a link, isn't there? There's
completely. You do
something wonderful, a bond.
Yeah, I think it's a harmony between us people in general. That one certainly side of things. I said to you, where's the furthest you've read so far, poetry-wise? And have you read much beyond Manchester? Have you yet, or?
Have I read much outside of Manchester?
Yeah. What's the furthest that you've read?
That's your question.
Sorry.
I try and read wherever I go. If I go abroad to visit friends, I try and read there.
Wow.
So I've read in Madrid.
Oh, fantastic.
I've read in North Carolina. I've read in Louisville, Kentucky, and in San Francisco. I just offer myself up in a kind of poetry slut way wherever I go, and I'm proud to do it.
Oh yeah. How do you feel then when you're reading in other countries then? Because I've done Southern Ireland, I've done Wales, about as far as I've gone. But how do you feel when you're reading in other countries? Do you feel like your poetry goes down well in different ways or unexpected ways sometimes?
Yeah, no, that's it's great. Very, very differently. I mean, when I was in Madrid, it was a bilingual event, and I think the Brits and the bilingual people got a lot more out of it. But and there they start so late at night. We didn't go on till 11 at night, and I think I performed at 1 in the morning.
Oh, good grief! That's early. That's a bit early. That's a bit late for me. That one. Wow.
But it's all brilliant. It's just like I said. It's just an instant kind of. There's an instant commonality there. That I think is it's like we have an invisible membership card somehow.
No, okay, I agree with you completely on it. It is an amazing feel. Like if anyone going to get some of your poetry, any kind of poetry, I recommend just go out and doing it here, there, and everywhere, basically. And enjoy it because you come away with massive buzz no matter what you do. So
and people are always appreciative, and I get ideas from them, and you just meet lovely people.
Oh yeah, completely. I agree with you completely on that one. Now, if people want to find out more about you, Sarah. Or Sarah. So I'm getting names mixed up here tonight.
No, the common mix-up.
Yeah, where can people go to find more art about you, Sarah? Then?
They can find me as a poet, Facebook as the English Alien or English Alien.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that. Why the English Alien? So
there is a story behind that.
I'm glad you reminded me then, because that was one thing I forgot to ask you about.
Yes, I'm half American, and the story behind that is simply, I think I was in San Francisco staying with a friend and performing there and talking about wanting to do not necessarily a website, but something at least on Facebook. And we were talking about the fact that I grew up in the States, but I was born in England, and because I'm a USAF baby, a military baby, my family have gone back and forth quite a lot. So we're neither one nor the other. And after 21, I tried to reclaim my American citizenship with some fantasies about doing some touring there. Of travel, not necessarily poetry, but it all backfired, Andy. Out of that came I still remain an alien one in both places to some degree, but I'm a British citizen, but I'm definitely an alien when I'm over in the States. So out of that we made the name English Alien.
Right, explains why. Oh yeah, it's got to be done. It's got to be done, definitely. So that explains why. No, cool. Now, that's all my questions today, Sarah, to be honest with you. So what we're going to do is...
Great, they've been really good questions.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that today, Sarah. I've really enjoyed that. So now, what I'm going to do now is, as I always do with Spoken Label, we'll pause the recording, let you get your chance to get yourself organised to do a few poems for us, and then we'll be back in 2 minutes. So thank you again, Sarah.
Okay.
Hang around, everybody.
Okay.
Hi, guys. Andy's still here with Sarah, so straight over to Sarah, and she's going to do 4 poems for us. Over to you, Sarah.
Okay. By way of an introduction, I'm going to say a little bit about myself, which is that I am a little old bastard love child from everywhere, a military baby outside of marriage, given up for adoption, got back, adopted by my stepfather, only child to continue in his name. I've always been the daughter of a witch and a bitch and a whore, damned if I did and damned if I didn't. So I did. Fly in the face of patriarchy and hypocrisy, and divide and rule school for fools, sexism, homophobia, xenophobic unloves. Calling me a weird sister, I'll take it, because I am the child of domestic violence, waving the flag of peace at the tank of Mr. Big, saying, "It's me, Daddy, it's me," and hoping for a Star Wars bar of diversity without the wars. Let us put our wings together and flock and rock this little blue dot in a circle of our wings, back to the shine of shades and green and peaceful times. Let us sing from the same heretic hymn sheet, see us fly.
Fantastic. Great start, that one, Sarah. What's that first piece called?
Well, it's actually called When Women Fly. It's a bit of the forward from the poetry collection.
Brilliant. No, really vivid. Excellent stuff.
Because I like to write forwards in poetry as well.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Good idea. I do afterwards normally, so when I do them, so I like it. Great stuff. I program backwards, that's why. So okay, onwards back to you then. What's your second piece?
Okay, I'm going to, as I said, it was written in 7 sections, and the first section is called, won't be surprised to hear, Bastard Love Child, and then the second section is called Daddy's Minx Girl, and so I'm going to read something from that section called Not a Girl Yet. I swing backwards off metal railings by the back of my knees, head inches above the concrete, and roller skate or go-kart down a car-lined hill and make for a gap in the corner, or scooter after my mother's Beetle away from the au pair on the base who couldn't stop me from playing with matches, or take on the bully who ran me over with his blue bike, or bite the backs of other boys I don't like the look of, or swim to the raft in the lake with snakes underneath and try to rock everyone else off. Or dive off the highest diving board because my cousin was too scared to, and I climb and climb and climb to the tops of trees and rooftops and rocky lookouts, and now my hips are exploding and my chest is bursting, and my father says I'm sitting on a gold mine, and there are girls who are not boys anymore, who wear shirts all summer, and have come down from the trees and away from me and the other boys, and sit in shadows, glowering at a distance, and read books and books and books, whole collections of pages with no pictures. And I know that I am not a girl yet, because I can still feel my eyeball rolling across the words heavily, and I still can't reach for the end of the story, because my pockets are full of swapsies and better things to do. And Patty says there are arrowheads down by the bullfrog pond where we found the neat rabbit skeleton hanging in the bush upside down. So I guess Patty's not a girl yet either.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, excellent stuff. Again, yeah, I like the bit about Paddy's not a girl yet at the end of it. Great stuff.
Yeah, and that's something I was a reluctant reader when I used to tell students that they couldn't believe it, but I really didn't like reading, and certainly didn't read a full novel until quite late. Friends around me were reading the whole of Agatha Christie and this, that, and the other, and I was still going, "Oh, it's got no pictures in it."
I'm still like that now, so great stuff.
Well, it is. I mean, I would say now it's very stereotypically a boyish thing, and I really related to that.
Yeah, no, great, no, it's excellent stuff. That. Okay, what's your third piece then?
My third one is a bit shorter, you might be glad to know, and it comes from a section called Nubile Lezzie. Again, an antithesis there about being, seen as something that's young and sexy, and at the same time, a bit of a marginalised person. Okay, it's called Guitar Woman. You sent me to learn the guitar because I was the son you didn't have, to copy my grandfather's way, and I played it until I let it go, rebelling the wrong way round. But the woman playing a guitar still struck chords in me that resounded me into a first kiss with another woman who said we stood with our arms like we were playing guitars. The metronome is ticking right now, counting me down. 3, 2, 1. How many more heartbeats before I pick up the woman-shaped instrument to make music again?
Oh, excellent. Speaking as a man that can't play guitar to save his life, but I do love the instrument. I related to that. Great stuff. Brilliant. Okay, what's your concluding piece then?
My concluding piece, I mean, I've really done a section that I do perform, and I like to finish with a bit of a rebel-rousing piece, and it doesn't come from later on in the sequences, but it's something I often get asked to read for Pride, and it's about a meme that people will often see in Facebook and have seen around quite a lot, and you'll recognise it when I start to say it. And I actually wrote this poem years ago because my mother said it to me, and it really hurt. So this is my response to her and anybody who says this, which you'll recognise. It's called Fragile Freedom. Why do you have to ram it down our throats? Why isn't there a straight pride? Yes, at times my pride gets a little frayed round the edges, frankly. Another gay marriage debate headline, another debate about is it okay to teach it in school or not. I have managed to avoid children and marriage, but not the pain of a gay divorce. I have had my own wet dreams of an LGBT-friendly eco-pod on sea. I who hold dear this delicate, finely tuned, endangered species called freedom. Why do you have to ram it down our throats? Why isn't there a straight pride? Yes, I can do internalised homophobia too. I can laugh at the feathers and leathers, the queens, the quins, the sequins, the sisters of indulgence and wimples and beards, the bears, the all superpowered, all singing, all dancing dares. And then I remember your message from Moscow about being chased by hunters, how they haunted, held you, raped you, and left their trademark hate mark on your skin with a knife. And I look again at this precious, finely named, finely tuned, endangered species, this fragile freedom that you don't have. But why do you have to ram it down our throats all the time? Why isn't there a straight pride? Yep, I can do that kind of homophobia inside out all too well. I can cringe at the merry-go-round of gay life, the shame grass from the L word, the shrinking pool of others my age, the, ooh, do you think they'll last long? I'm not sure they will. And then I get your email, needing some support while torn away from your family and motherland and children. You're seeking asylum here, and you need pictures of our march with my dog and the gay flag at Pride to prove how gay you are to the Home Office. And I look again at this precious, finely tuned, endangered species called freedom, and I take up my tattered Pride flag and I fly it as high as I can.
Brilliant. That's a great way of finishing it. They'll set off that no one. Straight away, Sarah. It says a lot more about you than in a logical way from you. With pieces, brilliant stuff. Really enjoyed tonight. Thank you again for that. Hang around, I need a quick word off mic. But thank you again.
Okay.
It's been an excellent session tonight. I've really enjoyed it. So
Thank you for the opportunity. I've enjoyed it too.
I'll speak to you all soon, guys. Thanks again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Spoken Label. Thanks again for listening to another session of Spoken Label. Our full archive can be found over on Bandcamp at Spoken Label. That's one word. Spoken Label. Full stop. Bandcamp.com. And there is over 150 sessions there. So I'm sure that if you've enjoyed this session, there'll be something else there you can enjoy as well. Take care. Bye bye. Spoken Label.